Welcome everybody. This is Hugh Massie, the CEO and founder of DNA Behaviour. And today I'm delighted to be hosting another one of our Identity EQ conversations. And I have with me Jojo Reyes, who is the Director of Special Education and Support Services at Mendota Unified School District in Mendota, California, near Fresno. He's an educational leader, and so it's great to have you with us today, Jojo. So could you just sort of tell me, just to get started, a little bit about your maybe life background, career background, what's got you to this place today of being an educational leader?
Yeah, I think, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show and having this opportunity. So what kind of brought me here to Mendota was actually almost full circle. I started my education actually as a walk-on coach at a high school for football, American football. And then I found out quickly that the only way I can eat is if I had a teaching credential, because being a free walk-on coach doesn't pay the bills. So I got my credential and I ended up teaching special education for close to 6 years. And all along, I had my journey of becoming a head football coach and trying to get to the college level. And then, our fourth child happened. And then so we're very blessed. And then at that time, my wife said, we have 4 children. You're no longer coaching and, you got to pay the bills. So I took my administrative exam. And then from then it's been a nice history, because my leadership with football and being a teacher, it really just opened it up into administration, because I really quickly found out there was really no difference. So how I ended up here in special education is that I got out of special education, went to general education, learned how the two worlds meshed, ended up getting my doctorate, and then my dissertation is on autism. After I finished the doctoral program, there are different opportunities, and so this job really spoke to me. So I'm here now. So really 20 years plus of education is a culmination coming to this particular district, which I'm very thankful for.
Well, that's quite it's quite a career path that you've followed.
Yeah.
So, were you a football player yourself at one point?
Yes, all through high school, a little bit before, and I had little stints and after high school, but just really never had a firm footing exactly to who I was and where I want to be. I had a lot of demons I had to overcome for myself, a lot of chips on the shoulder. And I think that really impeded my vision in a lot of different ways, which kind of led me, my decision to go into the Marine Corps. What do misguided youth do? Go to the Marine Corps. And so, for me, it's always that challenge. So I challenged myself. And to this day, those life lessons that I've learned in the Marine Corps follow me to this day right now. So it's been a nice journey. I did have a couple stints, at the collegiate level, but I just never panned out into that respect. And so it's always been one of my biggest regrets, because the talent's there, but the mindset wasn't. So as a coach, I've always tried to instruct or try to teach young athletes, minimize your regrets and just really trying to pay things forward. So that always brought me a lot of joy.
Do you want to share what was holding you back, on the if you want to call it the mental game part of it?
Yes. So I never thought I was good enough. I can always go back to that whole child story where, I went without, and yes, I went without, single mom, 2 kids to raise a lot of myself. I'm not looking for any sympathies by any means, but I'm just trying to paint this, story. Not a lot of resources. So I had a lot of self-doubt. I really excelled in sports. And so that was my outlet for my anger and my aggression. And then, then always being preached to that education was the way out. So I was just stuck in a quandary. I'm good at sports. I don't like school, but I want to make a living. So I was really, really confused. And then so when I finally got to the collegiate level, I started in junior college in California. I was able to become myself. So I grew up in San Diego, and then I went to Fresno State, and it's a good program. And so, I used my previous success as in the Marine Corps, and I was still in the Marine Corps, and then also going into collegiate sports. But what I found out in reflecting is that I was able to be myself. I didn't have anything to prove to anybody except for myself when I moved away. I tell my kids, we have 4 children, and two are grown up and 2 are still in the house. But I tell them that find your passion, because I left home with $700 in my pocket, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah, I think back now, and that's kind of crazy, but it worked out. So a lot of failing forward happened, and it occurred in my life, and so football wasn't the most important thing in my life anymore. And and there were a couple of times where I almost failed out of school, but then you have those epiphanies, and failing forward, I woke up one day and basically said, I need to graduate. I need to do something with myself, and I did. So that year I graduated, and then it was here I am now.
in a way, sports was your way out to a new environment.
Yes.
At college at Fresno.
Yes.
State. You then also, so you played college level football.
Well, I attempted to, not on a consistent basis, but I felt like I had the talent to be there.
Yeah. And then you were a walk-on coach.
Originally.
And where did the Marine Corps fit in?
The Marine Corps fit in because this is actually quite an interesting story. So in the Marine Corps, when I was 19, it was a buddy program. It was a buddy program where you can go in with a buddy, and they kind of get you together and train you together and so forth. Well, my sister got married in August, and then so I asked if I can have a little extension, so I didn't go at the same time with my buddy that went in a few weeks before me. Well, he goes in, and he's going through boot camp, and you only get like 2 or 3 phone calls. And so one of the phone calls was to me, because my best friend, and he goes, I don't care what you do. He goes, do not go active. Do not go in the Marine Corps and become an active duty member. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, why not? He said, finish school, whatever you do, just get in, I don't care what you do, talk about going to reserves. So kind of had the intestinal fortitude, the next day. And I went into the Marine Corps recruiting office, and I talked to the major, and they kind of grilled me. Now, mind you, I'm saying this, I love the Marine Corps. I'm so glad it was a game changer for me. I go in, I talk to the major, and I said, hey, I want to go reserve. I don't want to go active. He's like, he's trying to push me away from me. You're going to be leaving and so forth. And after a few conversations, finally he just stopped and he goes, hey, your scores are good enough. You can become a communications. You can go to reserves. You can finish school. Just like that. And then so when I went in for my 3-1s, and that was like during that, when I finished for Marine Corps combat training, that was when the first Gulf War happened. So we were at war, but that war only lasted for about 11 days. And then so it gave me an opportunity to go back to junior college, get my credits, and then ended up getting, and go to the university. So that's where the whole Marine Corps aspect came in. And so I was able to do the GI Bill and go to school at the same time.
Yeah. But you said before, Jojo, you said that there was some important lessons that came out of the Marine Corps. So what were they? Oh
my goodness. Where do you start? You find out how not to quit. In the face of adversity, what do you do? What kind of person are you when you're faced with, either going to war or you want to quit, but you have to fulfill your need, and you have a bunch of guys that don't know each other, and you have to learn everyone's attitudes. So really, some of the things that really stuck out from the Marine Corps is definitely work ethic. Work ethic was one of them. The other one is how to get along with others, besides yourself, and you're in your own comfort zone. And really that there's an order in life, that, there's a lot of the things that the military teaches you that's, been years proven. Just attention to detail, never quitting are probably the 2 things that are really sticking out in my mind right now. So, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a few more when I get off this call, because you live and breathe it.
No, of course. So, but as an educational leader now, how have those experiences shaped you? What do you take forward into your educational leadership?
Well, that's a great question. One of the areas that I really appreciated, I think maybe it was a month ago, was when you had that 4-star General Robin Rand. and he came on. And I loved what he said about how you can be mission oriented and people oriented. I have 20 years of coaching experience, head coach experience, teaching. But when it comes down to it, I'm very mission oriented. And I found out, so maybe I'm like after my 10th year, and that I was almost too rigid. So in education, you can't be that rigid. You have to be able to placate. You have to be able to bend. And so my leadership style has really turned into more of, before it was, it was mission or God, mission, people. Now it's God, God, mission, people. Now it's God, people, mission. So people first. It's about relational capacity, because without a relationship, you can't go very far in anything you do, especially in education. So I've learned that. So when Robin Rand said you can do both, it solidified and kind of validated I'm on the right track. So I feel very comfortable in my skin.
So was the Marine Corps teaching you that people were important?
Yes, to a certain degree. It was very mission oriented. So very mission oriented. So it was very cut and dry. If you're hurting, well, so what? You figure it out. And, as the old adage, I'm not sure, still, it's improvise, adapt and overcome. And I use that to this day, because especially during COVID-19, it's one of those areas where, there isn't an answer. You got to find the answer. And sometimes it takes the emotion away. In education, there is a lot of emotion. It's all about feelings, And I know I have something up here that I keep from Maya Angelou. It's that people, will remember how you made them feel versus what you did for them. And it is so true. So I have these little constant reminders all around my office of, to ground me.
So in a way, if I put it together now, what I'm hearing is that the Marine Corps taught you more about resilience, execution, following through, maybe a bit of toughening up, strengthening your mind if your mind was wavering at all on anything because of your earlier life. In a way, it's a framework platform to build your confidence. Because I think if you go through all that training, from what I understand of it, it can, and you're good at it, it can boost your confidence. It can ruin it too. But so that's it. I see the mission side was developed in the Marine Corps, if I'm putting it simply, but and we could say in business that's the results side. But then you've learned also that if you only do that in business and being a leader and don't recognize the people, you will fail, because if you don't show the people how you feel, or how, if you don't sort of show feelings, empathy, caring, being approachable as a leader, then you're going to fail. And I think that's why you're saying now that the people part is extremely important.
It most definitely is. And so when you say how you say it right now, it is so true, because I was like a wild Bronco in a way. I always had a lot of confidence, but I was just not focused. So the Marine Corps gave me the building blocks that I needed. And I wasn't ready, even at 25 or 26, to really fully embrace what I was being taught. It was a little bit later on in life, becoming a family member, becoming a family man and getting married. It all came to a culmination. And then so that's why I say when I feel really comfortable in my skin, I've always had feelings. I always had empathy. I wasn't a very good listener, very hard-headed, mission-oriented. But all of those areas really started coming back. And so I had a discussion a couple of years ago at a conference with the Marine Corps League. And there are some directors in education and higher education. And we all just kind of talked together, and we just really broke it down. And I was being very transparent. And I said, gentlemen, I'm in my 40s and I feel I have this esprit de corps, and it's an overwhelming feeling. And he goes, and these guys are a few years older, and he said, hey, it's perfectly normal, because it does take time to sink in. Don't shy away, be proud of it and accept it. So it was nice, because I felt a little guilty in the sense that I have been doing this a long time ago. Yeah, to some degree I was, but not to the effect that I'm doing it now. So I feel like I'm a better leader.
Well, in a way, though, Jojo, we're all born, well, 80% of us are born one way or the other in terms of being very results orientated or very relational. And the relational people have the lessons to learn on the mission side of the fence or the execution side. And those of us like you and me who are more on the results side naturally have some lessons to learn about people.
Most definitely.
And it takes time. And some people learn those things, or they're gifted to them from early in life. They might get challenged later in life. I think at least you know very consciously that both have to exist together in some kind of balance to be successful as a leader. You know, I think that's the key thing. But I think the question I was going to ask you next with this is, has something happened, particularly being in the educational system as an educational leader, where you've grown in your confidence, and that's really what has been the game changer to enable you to bring the two together?
Yeah, I think that I can answer that, and it's a two-folded answer. One is that I completed the doctoral program. That doctoral program was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Right. Yep.
With raising 4 kids, you know, why am I doing it this time? And it was actually a personal challenge. So growing up, you know, and my background and my ethnic background is Filipino. You know, I'm a first generation. My dad was in the Navy, came over here, you know, and then it's ironic that I didn't join the Navy. I joined the Marine Corps. You know, I've always been that kind of a black sheep in the family. But within that, though, there's a lot of people that don't look like me, sound like me. You know, my name is Jojo Reyes Jr. And so a lot of people think I'm Latino, but I'm actually Filipino. So I was going through some identity crisis type of issues. And so I think that when I attained the higher degree, it gave me that confidence to say, no, I do have a voice. I do have something to say, and that it's worthwhile. So I think that in itself gave me the confidence, but also I also joined a mentoring group, and it's called the Center of Leadership, Equity, and Research. And so I'm a board member and a mentor there. And I think those two worlds have really solidified that, you know, people are people, and I get that. It's not about race, it's not about it isn't, but to some degree it is. There's some things going on in current events, you know, it's unsettling. But at the root of it, it's people and relationships. And I didn't feel fully comfortable in my skin until a few years ago that it didn't matter who you were or what you are, that, you know, we have something in common and we can move forward. So bringing my leadership style and also bringing it into the mentor world and having several proteges, it's really been beneficial.
And I think, you know, a lot of it comes, what I've observed, at least for myself, is, you know, I've had a different background to you, but I've come from a different, you know, from a different country. I was also raised by my mother only. You know, there are any number of reasons early in our life which sort of create self-limiting beliefs.
Sure.
You've got to put yourself out. You know, the whole reason I went when I was in my early 20s and lived in another country. I lived in Southeast Asia, in Singapore and Thailand for 4 years, was in a way to get away from the stigma of the background, even though I had a good background. Was to, what I would sort of peg now is to learn to live beyond myself, or live outside of myself, and test the boundaries and see whether there really are any limits for Hugh Massie. And I think that's the same, Jojo, for you. What you've done is, you know, you moved outside San Diego, went to Fresno State, you know, became a coach, the Marine Corps, various experiences in the educational system. You're obviously highly intelligent. You've got a doctoral degree in autism. That can't be something that's simple to do.
Thank you.
Academically or emotionally, just understanding all the issues that go on with that. And so, you know, you've taken a lot of steps to live outside of yourself.
Oh, very lucky. Yeah, because like, when you say that, I didn't really know how to read until 2nd grade. You know, we moved around so much, it was very difficult. So having that, you know, that self-belief and that you can or can't, it's a dichotomous relationship. In which direction you want to go. You know?
But that in itself, just what you just said then, is a very important message for our listeners to hear, but also just people, Jojo, in the community to understand, it's not too late.
No, it never
If
is.
you didn't have the opportunity younger, you can still learn it.
Exactly.
And whether that's academically, you can learn to be a leader. Clearly, a lot of leadership is learned. I think as we've seen today, there are very few natural leaders, but a lot of great leaders have learned what to do.
Yeah.
And you're one of those. Confidence is important. And you only get confidence in a way by rising above yourself and going and testing yourself and being tough enough and resilient enough to complete it and get, whether it's the degree or an award or build something, whatever it is. They're all different. In terms of climbing Mount Everest, but in a way you've climbed maybe not to the peak yet because you're still young, but you've got a long way up that mountain in some difficult circumstances.
Yeah.
But
here's Mount Everest. Like you just said, it's Mount Everest, and I'm climbing Mount Everest. And I think that during my journey, I've always had that little. I've always had a little anger streak in me because I've always had that chip on my shoulder. So I took the long route up to the peak so far. I'm not at the peak yet, and I think that's why I'm with the mentoring group, because I'm trying to help those that have been in somewhat similar situations. It doesn't have to, but really just to navigate past those roadblocks, because I was that guy that if you said go left, I'm going to go right. Why? Because I can, and because I want to.
I think that's the power in your story, is that not everything's come easily. You certainly weren't given it. You've worked your guts out. You've brought a family up, and you've got 4 kids. That's a lot too. So you've got to manage that payroll. And as much as you think you're on the slow journey up, there'll be others out there that you can show the pathway for as well. That if you follow a process, believe in it, keep going. Okay, every now and again there's going to be a stumble.
Right.
That's a great framework to mentor people.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm one of those people too. I don't feel like everything happened in a real hurry, and I'm in my 50s and I'm still growing and developing and finding new heights to go to.
Right.
And I know that some people reach their peak in their 70s, others reach their peak when they're 12. I mean, it's you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yes.
And you keep going at it. But if we just switched it a little bit now, Jojo, to your talents, what would you say that you're 10 out of 10 at? Like what is that, that natural gift? Because we've all got it, even if we haven't. It's taken us a while to discover it and start using it. It's there. There's something there in the world for us that we're 10 out of 10 at. I always say to people, look, you've got some 8 out of 10s too, and a few 2 and 3 out of 10s. But what would you say is your 10 out of 10?
Oh, creativity, Mike. I think that I'm just highly creative. My mind, I don't think I've been formally diagnosed, but I believe I do have ADHD. My mind goes quickly, and it thinks very quickly, but I also see how systems work together. It's almost like, that movie Beautiful Mind in a way. I'm nowhere near that guy, but I can pull all these different areas and avenues together and puzzle pieces and see how they can fit, not fit, and look into. So I think I'm always highly predictive too in regards to that. So the creativity piece is just something where I like making things. I like creating, whether it be teams, results, because I am results oriented for sure, based on my teammate, but creativity is my number one.
Yeah, I think for the listeners out there, just to understand that your business DNA style is an engager. So you're also, connective with people, but you're very rational, logical, coming with a fast-paced nature, creative, but also a risk taker. So when you got your business DNA report, what was your reaction to it? What did you think about it at the time, in terms of what it was telling you?
I was kind of hesitant to look at it at first, to tell you the truth, because it's one of the things where I don't want to know to some degree. But when I looked at it, I think one of the biggest things that shocked me was, I don't take into other people's opinions or the perspectives as a risk taker, because I'm just going 1,000 miles an hour. And how I equate that to is like me being right. I'm at that point where like I don't have to be right. But it took me a while to get there. But reading the report, it really framed my future conversations with people, and also being an active listener, just saying, okay, I need to slow down. I tell you, I have reminders all over the place, and I have one other reminder that I keep constant. I show a lot of new staff, and I call it marinate to resonate. Just let it sink in, let it sit. Don't make the quick decision. Where I'm so used to in our jobs, and especially in education, and coaching and background, like you're supposed to think, yeah, there's an issue. What's the issue? What's the answer right now? But as I'm getting a little bit higher in the education field and administration, you really have to slow down a little bit, even more so, because those answers aren't just like this. So
yeah, I think that someone like you, who is extremely fast-paced, logical, and a risk taker, you're going to have a very quick mind and be extremely action orientated. I think is really what you're saying. You're going to respond in sort of action modes and action thinking. But if you're coaching someone, you've got to shut that down to some degree and be listening to what they say and making them feel understood. And in a way, that's the other side of the action orientation. And that's what you were saying, is really the report showed you the strengths of being fast-paced, a risk taker, creative, dealing with ideas, logical, but at the same time, you've got the struggle side being, you want to coach people, you've got to make them feel listened to, understood.
Most definitely. So that's really part of the self professional development and growth. And I think that's why I've been part of this mentoring group for so long. It's because as a mentor, you're not, there's a coaching and there's mentorship. Mentorship's all about reflection. I'm not giving the answers, right? I'm going to be, and so that's really helped me train myself to be more of a listener. And so I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I've had thus far. So you can put the two worlds together, because sometimes you're mentoring someone, like, no, I'm going to go into coach mode. I'm going to tell you what to do. But the reflective pieces really helped me out.
Well, it's really, at the end of the day, it's guiding them there, isn't it? But it's,
yes.
So you can use some of that quick thinking to perhaps guide the participant or the coaching person being coached to that place, but you can't give them the answer.
Yeah. So it's amazing.
They've got to own the solution at the end of the day.
Yes. So when I think about this, I had a conversation before we got on today, and it's amazing how, father of four, love my kids, but I'm just dad. So I have all this knowledge I want to pass on to you, but at the end of the day, I'm just dad. But so I need to tell people, hey, talk to my kids about blank and X, Y, and Z. But yeah, so but if I can do this to help others, that makes me get up every day, because when I'm building others, I get such a satisfaction, because you see the next leaders. You see the next leaders that you're paying it forward, and when you see them grow and you see them perform, or when you see them have an issue and then they can work through it, it definitely puts a smile on my face.
So that's a good pivot point for my next question. So if we talk about your identity, now that you've gone through all these life experiences, learnings, lived beyond yourself, in a way are a super coach in your own right, educator. Jojo, what do you see as your greatest strategic impact in the world going to be? What would you like it to be? And this really gets back to your identity, how the world will see you, what you're going to live up to being.
Yes.
Strategic impact.
Yeah. So you mean, when you say that, how I take that and how I digest that is what I call, how do you want to be remembered?
Yep.
And so how do you want to be remembered? I want to be one who has made an impact on people's lives on to making leaders, just building leaders. Because it's that old adage, if you build one person, then you build 10 others. So it's the same notion in respect to that when we have employees here, and the first thing I tell them is I say, I want you to tell them that you're going to be leaving. And they have that perplexed look on their face. And I go, let me explain it. And I explain to the sense that we build you so much that you want to go beyond yourself and you want to keep growing. You want to keep swimming. And no better treasure than you telling me, saying, hey, Dr. Reyes, I applied for this job. And I'm like, I'll be the first one to give you a hug, because that's a tribute to our team. And that's a tribute to this, that relationship that we have. So just building leaders, really.
Yeah, but I think it's actually something you just said then yourself. Building leaders to go beyond themselves.
Yeah, I get. You say that and it gets me a little emotional, almost teary-eyed, because when I'm saying that, I keep thinking about the ones that I've supported with, or I'm supporting now, and the ones that I've coached and that are now our parents, and they come back and they say, well, hey, remember you taught us this. And so yes, yeah, it's really close to my heart, but it's taken me a while to figure that out, because I think that early on I misguided that to not a self-gratification, but I think early on in my career, like I thought I had to get this award to make me feel important so I can spread the word and have this credibility behind me. And maybe it goes back about how just being dad. At the end of the day, my kids play sports, and my wife constantly tells me, they just want to please you, So I have to take a step back, because I have all this information and all these strategies for you, but hey, just be a dad, so yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you want your kids to be happy and to do the thing that's going to make them happy, not necessarily, you can't necessarily, you can't necessarily sort of force your life through them,
Right.
Some parents do. It's a matter of, are they having fun doing what they're doing? If they're enjoying sports and having fun at it, that's great. If they like tennis or baseball, but you rather football, well, you can't impose that. I mean,
yes, like we're always preaching now. My wife and I've always said it, and as I've been getting older, for sure, like find your passion, find your why. It's okay, like I know my son, he's 16, and at one point he was trying to, the kids are bright, they've run really well, and so their lifestyle growing up is very, very different from mine and my wife's. So the challenges that we had, they don't have those challenges. And so we're always trying to really say, like, money will come. Just do what you love. It'll happen. It'll be okay. And so I know that they look at it and balk at it. At the same time, I know it's sinking in. So it's one of those seeds that it's going to get nurtured and it's going to sprout. So very, very thankful for that. And so.
But also really with any kid, whether they come from money or no money or what the opportunity is, there's always room to go beyond themselves. And you're a good testament to it. And absolutely, having done it yourself, you can coach and guide others to do it. You're still doing it. And I think the risk-taking nature helps with that, because you can teach these kids that you're coaching, or any person that you're coaching, that's going to involve some risk-taking.
Yes.
At the end of the day, to really step out beyond yourself will involve risk-taking. But helping them look at risk differently is also important. Because risk-taking is not just financial risk. It's, it's emotional risk, life risk, work risk. It's risk in, lots of areas.
Most definitely. I think that's why I keep trying to push myself as an athlete. So I'm still active, and, most recently was CrossFit and snowboarding, and, I'm getting towards the mid-century mark. But for myself, it's a constant reminder. Or, let me read this article because it's going to expand my mind. It gets away from my fixed mindset.
Yeah.
So, it's constantly growing, constantly swimming, and whatever that may be. So for me, a lot of it's physical. It has to be physical before it gets to mental. Like there's one of my bold buddies, we were talking, and he coaches his daughters, and they're collegiate athletes. And I called him up and I said, hey, I've got a young lady that's my daughter. And I love it because this also put another piece of perspective in my repertoire. He said, hey, Jojo, he goes, girls got to feel good about themselves before they perform better. And boys are quite the opposite. Boys got to perform better before they feel better about themselves. So I coach both baseball and softball. And so like that's one of those other things where it's taking me down a different path, and how to communicate with females versus males. And so, I'm not sure if I stayed on the subject or if I got off the subject.
No, I think this is all on the subject. But I think if we conclude up on, is your identity is really around, coaching leaders to go beyond themselves. Or building leaders to go beyond themselves. I think that's a great platform.
Well, thank you for my therapy session right now.
So just as we conclude, Jojo, have you got any tips or that you'd like to give to our listeners, or something that they should listen to or read or do?
Wow, that's a loaded question, but I just know that on one side, I'm just going to give the plug for myself to you. This the DNA business has been very beneficial. I plan on using it in a lot of different ways for myself and for future teams. But just really anyone that's going to be listening out there that could take anything away from today is that just keep swimming, keep learning. Don't have a fixed mindset. You're never too old to stop learning. And because when you stop, that's when you die. I'll say it is what it is. Stop, you die. Keep expanding your mind and be open. Be open to people, be open to suggestions, take that step. First step is always hard.
Yeah, I think that's a good message to end on. Keep expanding your mind. Yeah. And if you're going to live beyond yourself, you've absolutely got to do that. So, So Jojo, thanks a lot for spending time with me today. I think it's been fantastic, and I've learned a lot, and I know you're going to continue to be very successful, as a educational leader, but also coaching people to live beyond themselves.
Well, thank you very much for having me today, and have a great rest of the day as well.